All right. We are live for yet another awesome episode, number 24 of Connect the Dots, our web tech talk show, where we focus on different aspects of modern technologies. And the show is of the format of a call-in show. We're kind of modeling after the car guys call-in show where folks can ask us anything and we'll do our best to answer. And we have a bit of a story to share each episode. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who's making a little bit of time in their lunch hour on Thursday here before the long weekend to tune in as we talk about travel tech. And we really welcome anyone to ask us any questions. We have a great team that's helping us produce the show, Marie and Natalie, and they'll be kind of managing the social channels and keeping us informed of any questions. And today we're super fortunate and appreciative of having a great and special guest here. Jeff Kischuk is joining us. He's the CEO of Tripian. And maybe, Jeff, I'm just going to let you take it away and maybe introduce yourself, and we'll get into a deep dive on all things related to travel tech today.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate being here. It's, I always enjoy our conversations and just being able to have an open chat and talk about things that we both like, whether it's travel tech, tech in general. We've overlapped our lives a few times, which is kind of cool. So my background, I come from an engineering background, found myself in digital tech during the .com boom. And ever since then, I've just been building in different technologies, verticals, just really a problem solver. And then 6 years ago, that journey took me to travel. I just met a really good group, a really neat team that was building Tripian, got on board, and now I've really immersed myself into staying in technology and now dealing in travel. So glad to be here and looking forward to the chat.
Awesome. And maybe just tell us a little bit about Tripian and what you guys are up to and a bit of the origin story behind everything.
Oh, thanks. It's always fun talking about this. The OG story of Tripian was born out of a travel agency 10 years ago, where my co-founder was having problems with his agents, always telling people the same things to do in all these cities. So Tripian was created to give people a tool to discover local spots, local gems, and it really started by curated itineraries where local experts were giving their lists, and we were putting it out in a digital format so users could log in, subscribe to a list, and get their top 10 tour that a local chef in Paris would recommend. From there, we needed to scale. So we started realizing we were getting data. And my background, I'm really into data-driven solutions. So we said, in order to give better recommendations, let's go get more data. So we started curating data, mining data. And by data, I mean point of interest data, whether it's museums, galleries, coffee shops, bakeries, local places to see, and started getting all the attributes. And from there, we started writing some early algorithms, like early AI, because there wasn't any chat GPT to help, churn a bunch of data. So we were doing it on our own. And so what Tripian does is, to this day, we still use data and technology and AI to generate personalized travel itineraries and recommendations for destinations.
Super cool. Yeah. Maybe just give our listeners a bit of an example of what kind of the use case or the experience is when they're using Tripian tech.
Yeah, there's 1,000 use cases, but my favorite one is when you go in Paris. And I used Tripian when I was there this spring. And it was, you go to Paris, you're at your hotel at 9 a.m., you've got tickets to the Louvre at 4 o'clock, and you want to plan your day, but you just don't want to do the regular things. So what Tripian will do is it'll take your interests, take what you like to do, where you are, time of day, weather, all of those kind of factors, whether you want to walk, whether you want to drive, and it will plan you a very smart routed personalized itinerary that will take you to all the different places, take you to a coffee shop, take you to lunch at the right time, find you a gallery, and then it'll get you to your endpoint on time. So it's really a kind of a personal assistant for it while you're in destination.
Okay, cool. And how do you queue it up? And I've had the fortune of looking into the back end of your system before and checking it out. But to the folks that are listening in, do you kind of set it up? Do you tell your likes and preferences? How do you kind of customize that guide?
Yeah, no, thanks. And that's That's an area that's always changing, is gathering those inputs. And it's quite interesting. So traditionally, most apps, would rely on answering questions, getting preferences, or if you had a profile, just gathering that information is always something we're still working on. In fact, on this morning's team Scrum call, we're still talking about how to get more data and more information about somebody, whether it's accessing your GPT profile, where GPT's gathering your memories and kind of watching what you do. So it's changing machine learning. So we've always done machine learning, and now that whole field is changing with AI, of how different tools are learning about you, learning your behaviors, learning what you like, learning how you travel. If you're using Chat GPT every morning while you're traveling to find a bakery that serves breakfast burritos, well, we can take those preferences and start using those in our matching algorithms as we build your day. So it's a tough answer because there is no one way to catch that data. And we also have partners and different other technology providers who specialize in personalized information. There's companies like Legends DNA that goes through your photo libraries and captures your attributes.
No way.
Yeah, it's a really cool company. Then, because we're a B2B, where we're working with clients. So, for example, if we're working with a large finance or credit card or loyalty company, they'll have some profile data. So we'll get information from our customers' profile data to match it to help those people. So that's an area where we really are looking at AI to help understand people preferences and personas a lot better.
What are your thoughts, like when you're talking about tooling connecting into our somewhat private lives, for example, our photos and that kind of thing? What are your thoughts on privacy, and how do you find that middle ground of having your customers, the end customer, expose certain elements to get a better travel experience, yet make them feel comfortable that you're being kind of thoughtful and considerate to their data?
Yeah, no, thank you. And the real answer to that is we respect the laws and the processes in place. So, for example, we're certified in Europe to GDPR standards, which is all the data privacy standards. So our pragmatic approach is by working within the guardrails of what's legally allowed, we follow that. And if somebody's willing to give up a certain amount of data and somebody willingly participates, it's like your Google history. You either opt in to let Google track your history or you don't. So we kind of operate from that point of view, where we stick within the laws and we'll work with the data that people are willing to provide, and we'll comply with PII and such, whether we need to delete it, whether we need to scrub it. So we don't try to trick people. We let people, and we openly know in our privacy policies of how and we use the data, of course. So we're very litigious, and we kind of follow the rules.
Awesome. I know when I was playing with your system, I found it really interesting that I could tell it how long I was going to be in the area, what my kind of preferences are, if I like more nature adventures or museums, or if I wanted to stop for lunch first. With that said, I'm assuming you're open to discussing your roadmap or your vision for what's next. I know a lot's changed over the past few years. Where are you going with all of this?
It's really about connecting experiences. And it's all about, if I really wanted to say what the end game is, the end game is human experience and making travel enjoyable. So how do we help people find those unique experiences? That's the altruistic approach of how we want to make the end users happy. But then at the same time we also know that travel as an industry is transactional. And, in order to get some of these experiences, so you have to help people connect with booking systems. You have to help people get that reservation at that little cafe. So there's a certain commerce aspect to it as well that drives the industry, and travel's, a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So we're very cognizant of, knowing our end goal is the human experience, and having somebody understand and have that emotion of how they want to feel at the end of their day, as well as working with our business partners and our clients to make the tools relative, and meaningful to their business and their travelers.
Some of the folks that typically listen into the show are CMOs from different organizations, and I'm just wondering, if you could share just a couple of things. One, who's your ideal customer? And for that customer, can you talk a little bit about how do they onboard the technology? How do they integrate that into their current stack and their existing travel experiences, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's God. You're asking really good questions today, Chris.
Sorry, we don't script this show, by the way, folks. We're just kind of going on the fly. But I was just thinking, part of my role as host person is to make
Yeah,
sure that we're really promoting what you're doing to the right folks and helping them understand how to get involved with your tech. So
yeah,
yeah,
no, it's good.
freestyle out of it.
So this is a test here because my CSO is going to be making sure I answer the question on who our ICPs are, because we've got a few of them. So I'll answer the high level is ideally is our ideal clients are people who have travelers under management. And by travelers under management, that could be a hotel tech or a hotel concierge that has guests and users engaged. That could be a travel loyalty program who has travelers. It could also be the tour operators and DMCs, destination marketing companies, who are promoting areas and having the tours and coordinating that and having travelers engage. So by that is what we want to do is we want to fill those gaps in their user experience and give them tools to engage their users and have their users be more engaged with their brand so that once they've gone on a tour, they don't just walk away from the tour. They could use Tripian to extend their own personal journey to find some places to go in the evening and stay connected to the brand so that if it's a tour company or a hotel, we can connect them and keep the brand experience with their preferred partners and such. So hopefully that's a broad enough way to address who the ICPs are conceptually. Awesome. On the second side, the tech side, that's really fun and easy because we've built the company from the start as an API first. We've really believed in allowing our tech to be integrated into existing travel apps, into existing customer platforms. So we've had companies like a car rental company in Europe who just simply used our API and use their own WebKits and their own brand to incorporate our tech and our recommendations into their existing mapping and user interface. We also do places where we'll do a white label, where clients who want a standalone sort of Tripian experience can just take our white label, configure it, and launch it as their own. And we also will do mobile and SDK. We have SDK integrations. So we have a customer, Nexus Tours, down in the Caribbean, who's, again, same thing into their mobile app is incorporating Tripian functionality without having. So we're not a standalone app, but our technologies can be easily deployed to existing platforms, both web and mobile.
Oh, super cool. Just before I get back to some other ideas here, we have some questions. And if you are listening in on any of our channels, we really encourage you to ask us anything. And we've got a question from Natalie. She says that I would love to know what SEO answer engine optimization considerations the travel industry should be focusing on to stay visible and prioritize in new tech platforms. And I don't have my glasses on. Sorry about that.
I think that's more of a Chris question.
Well, I can tell you one thing that's interesting is that over here at Dotfusion, we really believe in API-driven presentation and technology. And it's nice to know that you're kind of part of that composable stack where we can take aspects of what your technology is serving up and kind of mash it up. And one use case I was just thinking about that I hadn't considered before is we work with a number of larger property management organizations, and their stack has always included kind of something called a walk score, for example, but it was pretty limited. It was kind of like a map with where a shopping center was, or a park and that kind of thing. I could see embellishing that with a richer experience of how to go about it and explore the neighborhood to convince you to live or move your office into a certain area of the city, for example. Kind of
Yep.
not your typical use case of the tech, but an interesting one anyway.
Yeah, that's very good.
And from your client base, do you have a particular case study that comes to mind that's been maybe unexpected or interesting, and have any organizations used your tools in ways that you weren't expecting them to?
Well, it's ironic that you just mentioned about properties, because that just reminded me of a new client that we're working with. It's a company called Study in Asia. And what they're going to be using Tripian for is as they're trying to attract students into Japan and into towns in, Asia and Southeast Asia, is using Tripian, just like you said, to help people understand the neighborhoods that the schools are in, what sort of experiences, how they can, get around if they go to that school and live in that residence, what's in walking distance, are there kind of shops, restaurants that they enjoy. So they're using it as a bit of an upsell marketing tool to help people, just like you said, explore, a destination around a campus. And that was something we had never thought about. But when we met with them and they understood it, that they came up with their own use case. So that's really cool.
Oh, right on, right on. Something that is often maybe neglected, not talked about in these AI-driven experiences is the data and analytical feedback from the admin part. And that's something that we haven't talked much about, but is that something that you surface to the owner operators or the folks that are using your tech? Are they able to glean insights from the usage of your tools?
Oh, yes. Yeah. 100%. So, because what we're doing is we're tracking what people are liking, what they're doing, if somebody's switching out, coffee shops, if somebody's going to different places. So we are, allowing those our client companies to have those traveler and user insights of what they're actually doing in destination. A good example of that is with a travel credit card company. Is they're not currently they're having trouble. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused. They have an issue with that travelers aren't using their credit card while they're in destination. They're using their credit card to plan their trip, to book their trip, pay for their flights, pay for their hotels. So they know when somebody's traveling, but they don't know what they're doing in destination. So they're adding in Tripian into their travel mix, so that they can start finding out and just knowing what their travelers, how they're engaging, and look for those opportunities to maybe help them use their card more while they're traveling. Because right now, while they're on their vacation, to the credit card company, it's a black box.
Okay, maybe they're, I don't know, switching over to local currencies or something
exactly.
like that.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
But just, as part of that travel program, it's helping them, just exactly like you said, have that increased awareness of their traveler personas and their different, how they're going to group and, manage their travelers, and also market them additional promotions or campaigns, different regions, different areas. So it's we're able to give that information back up to the marketers.
So in my experience with the tooling, I'm going somewhere, I put in kind of my likes and dislikes, and I go on this adventure. Is there any way that your tooling is providing feedback on how engaged I am? Am I actually following the plan? Am I going to the places that you're surfacing? Is that a known?
So right now, again, as you know, it's tying into the geolocation of the device. So if they're on their device and they're interacting with the map, if they're on an SDK, like if it's a native app, we'll have the fidelity, because we can, track them and understand where they are and what they're doing, and then do a resonance. Did they follow the map or didn't they? Again, one of the things where we like working with companies like Dotfusion is to help understand the UI. Like, how could we engage users to give feedback? How do you make them interact with the app to like, dislike, comment, rate, review? I think that's a challenge that in the industry that you've been trying to solve for many of your clients over time. And it's something that in a travel app too, we're always wanting to know what our current and new best practices for tracking and getting users engaged to give you that feedback.
I'm just a little bit heading off course here, but I'm assuming that your team is pretty in the know of travel trends and what's the future state of tech and travel. Do you want to share a little bit about some of the things that you're thinking about, or that you're hearing or planning for tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I think tomorrow is as far as we can plan. No, I think again we've kind of touched on it. It's a really exciting, challenging time now because the technology and the tools are coming out rapidly. Like GPT just released a whole bunch of new models. It's a lot of it is keeping up with the technology, but then where we also try to think of it is how are we going to use it? So we're always trying to think ahead to the use case and thinking about like identifying the problem. And then as the tools come around, what tool can best solve the problem and how can it advance our product roadmap? A lot of it comes down to our roadmap is always often driven by what the customers want. Like, how are they going to engage? How do they want to engage their users? And it's really tricky that because, you don't know, but we also just think of if we keep our North Star of a good emotional experience. So when you're traveling, what tools can you use and what kind of tech can make your life easier? And it's not just what we do. There's so many other platforms and travel tech that is adding those things, whether it's companies like Artura that's doing AI travel guides, company that we're friends with called iWander, which is doing an interactive kind of AI guided tour guide for when you on a hop on, hop off bus tour. So there's so many different use cases in travel because there's so many different aspects that people want to do when they engage. And again, it comes back to the technology evolving. And like I said, we had a scrum this morning and we're using tools today to solve problems that a year ago we couldn't do. And that's just crazy, but it's fun because I think that's what keeps us going is the rapid innovation across not only travel, but every industry that AI is bringing. It's I was in a meeting yesterday and the host was basically had to start saying that it's not the future of AI in travel, but it's just happening. AI's in travel, AI's in every industry, whether it's travel, whether it's fintech, whether it's consumer services. And I think we've really kind of crossed over that edge where AI is not a novelty now. It's real. It's all about it. How much of a utility is it? And using the tools as utilities to deliver value. And rather than AI being some mystical crystal ball, it's real.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening. So just once again, I just want to shout out to folks who are listening in on our social channels. Jeff's talking today about how technology and AI is, I guess, impacting the travel business. And I'm just wondering, Jeff, for folks who are curious to kind of dig in and learn a little bit more, do you have resources that you'd want to share to kind of point people in the right direction to learn more about this stuff? Do you have like some key places you like to kind of keep your ear to the ground on, or where do you find out more about what's happening in travel and tech?
Yeah, there's a few really good resource groups that I participate in. There's a gentleman out of Australia called Tony Karn who has an Everything in AI weekly newsletter and also a Slack group. So it's a really amazing resource where there's like some of the smartest minds in travel tech on a Slack channel. And every day there's chat, there's exchange. There's a couple other really good newsletters. There's one by a gentleman, Maurizio Prieto, has a travel tech newsletter. So there's some really good resources like that out there that have it. And online on LinkedIn, Christian Watts, I always give a shout out to him. He's a very good prolific source for AI in travel. Guy like Alex Bainbridge, like these are a few of the ones. And then local in Toronto, there's Dan Christian who does everything at AI and Travel podcast. There's some really, again, amazing resource. And my last shout out for a good resource is Gilad Berenstein, who also has a travel tech podcast as well. So it's just, finding those resources. And it's the reality is these days is you have to stay current every day. Yeah. There's always information to read. There's always information to learn. One of the important things that we also do is we encourage our team. It's always been that traditional thing in engineering. You should always be giving your team like 15-20% of their time to R&D to like play and learn. And if you're not doing that now, your team's probably already obsolete. So anybody who's wanting to stay current, not only in travel tech and AI, but you need to let them play. You need to let them experiment. You need to let them get the demo accounts on all the new models, and then start being creative and see how things can mesh. That was a long answer. Sorry.
That's a great answer. Awesome, man. I got a lot of stuff to ask you about here. I'm just wondering, as far as if someone was interested in checking out Tripian, what's kind of the workflow to get involved, to do demonstrations? How would someone get their hands on the tech to understand a little bit more?
Yeah, they can send an email into info@tripian.com. We've got a demo API. We can give them an API key and access to a white label site, so they can just simply play with the white label site, or if they want to test out the integration of our API and understand how the data flows and the algorithms work, we have that all documented. And yeah, we can easily, that's a lot of what we do is helping people understand our capabilities and seeing how it is, and also making sure that they're open to the possibilities of what it can do.
Okay, cool. So they can reach out to you and kind of check it out. And I know we've looked under the hood, and it's pretty cool and super flexible to deliver the presentation of the experience as well. I'm just wondering if we mentioned this idea where you want to keep within the brand. If I'm just thinking, one of our customers is a large international resort owner, and let's say that they're interested in some AI trip planning tech. Is there a way for them to kind of control the results a little bit to give a certain kind of experience that fits within their brand or their
Yeah.
essence? I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, no, that's, as much as we like to believe and have the altruistic algorithm generate, sincere, authentic results, we also have the ability, because we're a B2B, to have business rules. And the business rules can be to ensure that they include certain POIs and locations if they have preferred merchants or partners. It can also be, like you said, if they want to weed them out and only, show 5-star rated type of places. Those are all configurable business rules that we have on the algorithm that can help businesses tailor their results while also maintaining the authenticity of legitimate personal recommendations.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking even safety might be an idea. If you're going somewhere and maybe there's some certain parts of wherever you are that are less than ideal, you can kind of, or if you have children and that kind of thing, there's probably kind of a more advanced way of ensuring that experience is ideal for the end customer.
Yeah, and then to that point is like how you said about having an open architecture. Is there are services out there, like there's one service that we've looked at called GeoSure, which all they do is safety ratings for different lifestyles and different people in different times and locations. So again, yeah, we're able to integrate those kind of additional services into our kind of unified solution. That's a lot of what we do too, is trying to identify partner services, because we want to believe in working within the ecosystem, not being the super app ourselves.
Gotcha. And if I had thought this through a bit better, I would have created some time for you to show a little bit of a demo, but that will leave people wanting more so they can reach out to you. But are you available? Are you speaking? Where can people find you? Where do they track you down?
The best way to track me down is find me on LinkedIn through this post. My emails are jeff@tripian.com. We try to keep it simple. I do try to attend podcasts. I do attend the industry conferences around travel and travel tech. There's quite a few of them. It's really gets down to time, priority, and doing the right thing. And coming on conversations like this and with a good friend like you, Chris, is a lot of fun. So I appreciate it.
No, it's really cool. And what we really love is how to kind of customize the experience on top of that. And I know that's important for CMOs who are our typical customer, and they're concerned about maintaining the brand experience through their entire tech stack. Yep. The team here will post all of, wow, time flies here. We'll post your contact information, and we'll also put a link to your website and to you, and make sure that people know that there's an opportunity to check out the technology as well, because it's super cool. And maybe I know we're out of time, but just before we go, is there anything that you'd like to talk about as far as what you're doing next, or any cool things around the corner everyone might want to know about, and also cool for you to not disclose anything there too?
Yeah, well, I think that the fun thing is we've been at this for a while. You know, Tripian, it's been a number of years. There's some exciting announcements coming out this summer where a couple large enterprise customers that we're dealing with. One is a global brand, and the other is quite a large brand in the hospitality industry. So exciting things like that are coming where we've put in the effort, put in the time, and we're generating results. So it's an exciting time. And with travel changing, the fact we're still relevant, I think that's always important in any industry, regardless of what you do, stay relevant.
Awesome. And again, just before we go, could you just kind of recap who your ideal customer is again, just quickly? And I'm going to use this in a snippet later on.
Our ideal customers are anybody who has travelers under management.
Okay.
So whether it's, and that
Cool.
I think that says it. That's
Okay, that sounds great, because I'm also just not quite as familiar with the industry, but we
Yep.
want to do our best to get the word out there for you, because we know that you're doing great stuff. I also seen that half an hour just flew by. So thank you very much. Thanks to everyone else who was listening in today. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen in, ask some questions, and learn a few things. Thanks to Natalie and Marie from Cometa who produced the show. And we will sign off. We look forward to having everyone back in a couple of weeks for our next show.
amazing. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks everyone as well. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks,
All
Ken.
right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.